So you want to learn how to one-shot your badminton opponents with your badminton serve? Well, don't worry, because in this video, we're going to show you the 5 tips and steps for you to effectively do so. And if you're looking for more badminton resources or exclusive merch, then make sure to check out outsmarting.com in the link down below. Our first step to one-shotting your opponent is mastering the basics of grip and stance. And right now, we're going to use Paul as an example for him to see his serve, and we're going to fix him up. Let's look at your single serve. So start with your setup. Get into your setup position. So this is your normal setup position. Could you show the camera your grip in your setup position? Your grip right now is more on this 45 degree of the racket handle. So you're more on here, right? Whereas my grip is more on the flat surface of the badminton racket handle. Now, what do you think this does to the face of the angle when you're holding it here versus when you're holding it here?
Well, this one's more upward. This one's more straight.
Yes.
The one that you're doing.
Yeah. So when you're serving, especially in singles, and you're standing so far, do you think it makes sense for us, our racket, to be facing upwards like this when we're turning our face racket up? If we just look directly in the camera where it's pointing, this is going at an angle that's beyond the net, right? So in order, let's face an angle where our racket head is facing directly at the net. What does that look like? So point it directly at the net. So if you're standing in this position, this would be directly at the net. Okay. Second, let's talk about our position. So get up into your singles backhand serve position. Yes. So first thing is first, what is the reason that you're leaning back here? What do you think that does for you?
Usually I get a better angle this way.
Better angle to hit forward?
To hit up,
To hit up. So what is determined on the angle? Is it our body lead or is it the angle of our face racket?
I think I usually compensate with it, with my racket being straight, and then I move my body so I don't have to use my wrist to generate too much power when I'm doing the serve.
Okay, but you have to think about when we're leaning back in this position, after we hit, where is our momentum?
Backwards.
Right? Because no matter what, moving forward and back in badminton, our momentum needs to always be forwards. If we go forward, we go forward. If we go backwards, we push backwards. By being in this backwards momentum position, you can't move forwards and you can't move backwards. So that position already puts you in a difficult stance to get to the next shot. So what we want to be doing with our stance position is, one, our momentum should always be forward, okay? So you see professional players? The only person I've ever seen that serves backwards is Taufik Hidayat. He serves a little bit from the side. But everyone else, when they're serving, is always leaning forwards, okay? So our back foot is actually usually off the ground when we're leaning forwards, if you pay attention, because we want our momentum to be forward. Okay? So get into the forward position, racket up with your thumb on the flat part of the surface. So two things. One is your racket face aligning with the net? And is your shuttlecock head aligning with the net? So right now, looking at racket face, okay, this is your racket face. Not bad. Towards the net, slightly on the lower side tilt. So if I wanted to, just slightly upwards would be a little bit better. Second is look at your shuttlecock. Right now, it might be hard to see from your point of view, but your shuttlecock, the direction it's pointing, is over here, which is into the net. So once you have your racket face pointed to the direction of the net, then make sure your shuttlecock direction is also matching that tilt. Otherwise, if your shuttlecock's facing one way and your racket's facing the other way, what that creates is a spin off your serve. And spins off of serves lead to inconsistency. So we want to make sure everything is straight off of our serve, straight racket face, straight shuttlecock, so that we can hit a flat serve and quick serve. We never want to hit slow serves. Beautiful. You want that sound, ding, on the serve. So the second point you need for having that effective serve is a good contact point, which we talked about a little bit in our last serve. So let's get into our setup position again. We talked about when you have a good contact point on your serve, it should have a ding sound. And why that ding is happening is because you're hitting straight onto the shuttlecock. And a bad sound would be any slicing sounds or any muffle sound. That means you're hitting not on the shuttlecock. And it's usually caused by a movement in the hand or misalignment of the racket and the shuttlecock. Yes. Beautiful. Do you hear the difference in that sound? Ding,
Yeah.
you're hitting the bird. Another thing we need to focus on when we're talking about contact point is where to contact on the racket. So where do you think is the ideal contact point on the racket for backhand serves?
I usually put it right here.
Right here, as in, if
The
we were to
top.
hold the racket this way, where would it be? Right here, yes, that's correct. So why do we want to put our contact point in this area of the racket and not in the center? So in the top and then coming up to this area. Number one is you have more racket tension over here. This has more racket tension than in the center, giving you a smaller and more precise touch. Second, why on the top versus on the bottom? Well, just on the bottom, there's more room for error, where on the top, you have more control and it's closer to the net. Next, let's talk about the action and timing of our serve. So right now, what do you think we're supposed to do in terms of timing of our serve? We come up, how slow, how fast should we come back and move forward? And how fast should we contact the bird?
I think moving back, it doesn't really matter. But when you're doing the forward motion, it should be one fluid motion, the same speed the whole time.
So how I like to think of this is that the back motion is just as important as the forward motion, because a proper back motion sets up your forward motion. We want to make sure that when we're coming back, a good timing to have is that however fast you're going to hit forward, you should also come back that fast, so that you have the speed built of forward and back, forward and back. Because if you come back slow, and then fast, your position, once you accelerate, changes. So our main goal with action and timing here is to come back to our original position as closely as possible, because your original position is already perfectly set up, right? So coming back, we just want to come back to this original position and push through.
So you want me to do a constant speed for the whole movement?
So it's 1, 2, and not 1, 2. You see? By doing this 1, 2, everything's already starting to move. Okay, so you see your whole timing for that serve is quite slow. You did 1, 2.
Yeah.
1, 2. Now for serves, we want to have fast serves, right? In order to have fast serves, how do we do that? We need to have quick contacts. And remember, by hitting it faster here, it's not going to go too far. Why? Because we're hitting it in the top area of our racket. If we were to hit it in the middle, this is where the string is looser and it'll bounce really far. Okay. Good. So now that we've worked on the techniques of the service, it's time to work on our accuracy and our control. So no matter what, you have to follow the basics of the previous techniques, which is racket face and shuttlecock face, momentum forward, and timing into the original position. Now, how do we practice our accuracy and control? Well, you have to understand the positions on our court that we need to practice. Now, there's multiple positions on the body that we can serve to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But to keep it simple right now, we're going to cover the 3 most basic positions of service on the court for short serves. So that's 1 in the center tee, 2nd in the middle of the court, and 3rd to the side of the court. So right now, let's give it a go. Let's try serving 1 to each point and see how we do. Okay, 2nd, we're gonna serve here. Okay, and 3rd, we are going to serve here. Good. So how do we adjust our accuracy and control when we're serving to these 3 points? While covering all of our basic techniques, how do we aim? Well, aiming in badminton is where you are facing. 1 is left and right, and the 2nd is up and down, considering the factors of your racket face and your shuttlecock. So if I wanted to serve in the center, I would aim forward towards you. If I want to serve to the right, I would aim this way. Left, I would aim this way. So when you're practicing at the beginning first, just aim directly at your target and serve. And over time, as you get more used to it, you don't see professional players aiming first and serving. They all start from a standard position, and as they're serving, they change directions to that position. So once you get familiar with the 3 points, you can start always in a standard position, and as you pull back at the last moment, change directions to that position. Pull back, change directions to that position. Our last tip is to cover mental game and control. When you're ever serving or when you're playing tournament, do you ever feel that there's pressure in your serve?
Always.
Why?
Because if you don't hit a good serve, they have the power to drive it, to clear it, Like everything is in their power, basically.
Right.
They have more
So
option.
this is the one downfall of, I would say, any sport, and it's the mental game. Because for a lot of players, especially I think more amateur players, is they think when they're playing in tournaments, I need to serve the shot better than I usually serve.
Right.
But how can you do that? Right?
You can't.
You can't, because you never practice serving it better. For you to serve it better, that means you need to do something you haven't done before, which also increases the risk. That's why your shots might become more unstable, serving into the net or too high, because you're trying to do something you've never done. So I would say, when you're serving, especially in high intensity situations, you just have to serve like how you always serve, and you have to trust your serve and not change it better. Because if you wanted to make your serve better, you should have done that in practice and not in those high intensity situations.
Is there like a routine that you usually do before you serve?
Routine I usually serve, I pretty much do the same thing. I come up, I walk, I take a deep breath, I look at where my opponent is getting ready. And before I serve, I already know where I'm going to serve. And I know the first 3 shots. I know where I'm going to serve, I know what I want them to hit, and I know this 3rd shot, what I want to try to do. So coming up, it's already very set. In terms of trying to hit perfectly on the serve, I don't do that at all. I come up, all I need to do is, because I know which direction I'm serving, I come up, I just get into my position, and I trust that if I do the same position, it will go to where I want to, because that's what I practiced.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you never change up your serve in the middle where you're like, I'm gonna serve there, but then it's like, oh, he's really focusing on getting that shot. So maybe I should switch it up right in the middle.
Well, I do that because that's part of my training routine. My routine has been to start in one form, and then I can always change at the last second.
Okay.
But I already know. For example, if I'm going to serve to left and I aim middle,
yeah,
I already knew this before I came up to serve.
Okay.
So even though it looks like I'm serving middle, I'm going to serve left. And it doesn't matter, because once I start in serving, they're not going to suddenly change a position. Once they stand, they're already standing, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like when you play a game, you're always changing positions throughout the game. Once you play a player and you know what their stance is, they're always going to stand the same way, most of the time, until they start changing. So knowing that, you already prepare before you come up for the serve. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Support us by checking out our website, link down below. Get some exclusive merch, get some training, or send us a donation so we can help making more videos to you. Also, comment down below what topics you would like to see next so that we can help you get better at badminton every time.